Hello again, Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
So one thing I've wanted to discuss for a while in one of these videos on Japan is, well, weight loss. I'll start with the punchline. We both, in the first couple of months living here, lost quite a lot of weight. I might have lost 8 to 10 kilograms, even though in the States, we used to go to the gym every day, and we used to eat very restricted portions, like one limited meal per day, almost every day.
And the gym session would consist of 45 minutes to an hour of intense elliptical work, maybe followed up by weightlifting for 15 or 20 minutes.
Yes, so these were serious sessions. We were doing them almost every day. We had been doing all of this for over a year, over 2 years, I think. And we're struggling to lose any weight. And then we come here, we stopped exercising, and
we did a lot of walking, though.
Yeah, we did a lot of walking, but the phone in my pocket automatically tracks, steps and calories burned by walking and climbing stairs. And the conclusion is it is much less calories burned, like half of what we were burning at the gym every day.
Though it is really cool to see our steps we're doing between 12,000 and 18,000 steps most days.
On the good days when we don't stay.
Yeah.
Point is, we stopped exercising. The walking that we are doing, according to the phones in our pockets, it's a good amount of walking, and it's good for a healthy life. But it's, in terms of pure calorie burn, it is half of what the gym was producing, again, according to the equipment that was measuring. And yet I lost probably 8 to 10 kilograms, and actually, when I came here, I brought extra pants that I couldn't even fit into at the time, just in case I lost weight here. I didn't want to go clothes shopping, and now those same pants that couldn't fit me before, so loose I need a belt, and
his pants are falling down.
Yes, what she said. And Dusty lost not quite as much, but lost a good amount.
I'm maintaining at this time a low that I would normally have to claw my way to really hard in US.
You'd have to self-sacrifice and go to the gym constantly.
Yeah, and now I'm just kind of maintaining that.
Without
much effort.
Yes, and with the occasional sweetbread even.
Yeah, or ice cream. Which were total no-nos on most days back home. So anyway, there's this massive difference. Why? Yeah, one might ask, and that's what I'm here to tell you guys about. Those of you who have known me over the years have probably heard me talk about what I've called the Great Poisoning, that I had this theory for a long time that in the United States and probably in other Western countries, there is a poison somewhere, permeating the world. Maybe in the food, maybe in the water, maybe in the air, but affecting everyone. Because a huge number of, it's not just that the population has gotten fatter, a large number of things have changed alongside that. The idea of, children getting diabetes a generation ago, in the 50s, let's say, that was unheard of. Your average, pediatrician would go his whole career and maybe encounter one case of childhood diabetes. And chronic illnesses too.
Or childhood chronic illnesses, you mean? Or,
no, just chronic illnesses.
I'm not done with this, sorry. So nowadays, something like a third of all children in the US have pre-diabetic signs. So, and all of that happened within the course of a generation, and nobody noticed. And there's other things, like Dusty was pointing out, chronic illnesses have gotten a lot more common. There's a lot more of them. Treating them as an enormous business. They hardly used to exist. Not very much at all. Unless you were extremely old. Obesity, of course. Fat people have always existed, but extremely fat used to be so rare that they would recruit you to be a circus performer. People would travel the country and pay to see you if you were extremely fat. And now it's unfortunately very common. And again, that changed within the course of a generation or two, and nobody really noticed. There's a bunch of other things like this. Within the same time period, extreme allergies among children have gotten way more common. The notion that schools have to worry about who brings what for lunch so they don't kill a classmate. A generation ago, people would think you were joking if you brought that up. And now every teacher has to be aware of it. And schools, send home like rule sheets on what kids are not allowed to bring for lunch, because like you literally actually might kill a classmate. And not by feeding your food to them, just by like eating it in the same room that they're in. Again, like where did that come from? And so my suspicion is that there's a poison. I'm actually glad that RFK Jr. in Trump's administration is like he's been talking about this for quite a while, and I'm glad, because before nobody was talking about it besides me, as far as I know. Like another phenomenon has been the skyrocketing rates of anxiety in the population in general, but especially among young people. And that, again, like took off in the space of a generation. If anyone of you knows like an old grandma, ask her when she was a little girl in school, how many of her female classmates were on medication for depression or anxiety, or had ever talked about suicide. And I guarantee you the answer is going to be 0 or approximately 0. Whereas, like, you find somebody who's in middle school right now and ask, especially a girl, and ask her that question, and it's going to be half the class minimum. That change happened within the space of a generation, and nobody noticed, or if they do notice, it's like maybe the phones are doing it, you know, maybe it's social media anxiety, and I don't buy all of that. Like that sounds like a symptom. Like a phone scrolling is an addictive behavior. It's something you latch onto to help, you know,
you cope.
Yeah, self-regulate anxiety. But it doesn't explain why there's so much anxiety in the first place. I mean, that I think is another symptom of the same thing. Oh, but but people will say like, oh, you know, weight gain is just like laziness, you know, put down the burger, you slob. My answer to that is like, yes, we are all lazy. Yes, we are all slobs. We're failed humans, etc. Like, all of that's true. But that was always true. Like, we were never not that. So why is it just now? That's like if a plane falls out of the sky and you blame gravity. Like, yes, in one sense that's true. Gravity brought the plane down, but then it doesn't explain why it was up in the first place.
Another interesting change here on that note is that, so we were restricting pretty heavily what we were eating back home, about 1 substantial meal a day, and trying not to snack. And we were really fighting hunger pangs the whole day. It was rough. Here, if we have one substantial meal, I mean, we can actually have a snack later in the day and be okay, you know, weight-wise, but if we don't, the hunger is a lot gentler. It's like we don't actually need more anymore.
Yes, back home, we were, you know, like every evening, because we didn't have any more, we were starving. We would often go to bed with hunger pangs, and it was painful and unpleasant. And if we had to do that just to stay at the weight we were at. If we gave up, like, I could gain 10 pounds like that if I stopped doing all that.
So it's like, was our food even really giving us what we needed? Was our body telling us, no, you need to eat more because you didn't actually get any nutrients?
Yeah, so was the food, like, that's either the food was lacking some kind of nutrition, or there was a poison in our nervous system telling us you're always hungry. I mean, maybe both. But whatever it is, it isn't here.
I have had family members tell me, I feel like I can't ever stop eating, you know, like I have to eat that.
We felt that too, but now that we're here, even after a few months here, it's severely diminished. Therefore, I can say it's not a question of willpower. Like, yes, by all means, like, you know, don't order the second pizza, but, you know, it's a lot easier to do that if you're not absolutely starving all the time. Why do I think it's a poison? Well, like, one example is if you track the obesity rate, not by state, but by county, and people have, you can find this online, and then you make this like color-coded map of the country, it looks exactly like an elevation map. The obesity rate is lower the higher up you go. The astute listener might then say, like, well, what if it's just people in cold places are like burning more energy to maintain their body heat? The answer to that is to look at low altitude cold states like Alaska, where people are living close to sea level and it's very cold, and they're very obese. So it's not the cold producing it. And yes, you can create other plausible theories for why this is, but it looks to me like there's a poison, because poisons, like in the water supply, they run downhill. The closer to ground level you are, the more of them you get. Somebody else might also object, you know, like, well, maybe people move to the high altitude cities because they want to engage in athletic hobbies. I can't totally disprove that one, but it's like, my theory is so perfect, it's just gotta It's just gotta be right.
Oh yes, that's good evidence. It's just too perfect to be wrong.
Yes, it's so elegant in the way it fits. It accounts for, like, things in, like, disparate areas.
Well, you sound like House right before someone smashes his precious theory to bits.
Exactly. But I'm also serious. Also, it works at many different elevations. Like, in order for the athletic theory to be true, you'd have to think that, like, the guy who moves, like, really high up is gonna do lots of athletic hobbies, like skiing. The guy who moves, like, this high is gonna do a little bit less of that. The guy who moves, like, this high is gonna do even less athleticism. And the guy who stays at ground level is gonna do none. Like, I don't think that's how people decide what city they're moving to. Like, I could... If it was just, like, the guy at the tippy top and the guy at ground level, maybe I'd accept it. But like, that everyone's kind of, like, segregating themselves by how much they plan to spend doing, like, outdoors activities, that doesn't sound right to me. My idea's better. Oh yeah, so, like, to bring all this home, one of the reasons I moved to Japan is to test this theory, and I told people back home that if I lose a lot of weight after moving without much effort, then in my mind that it'll be proven. And that's exactly what happened.
I can attest to the fact that his pants are falling down.
I hope that RFK figures out what's causing this problem in the US and fixes it, and in the meantime we'll be here, hopefully getting thin. In good news, like, we have taken up some gym activities now that we have more free time. Like, I've started lifting a few times a week, and I think that'll, weight loss aside, which I'm done with, it'll be good for my general health.
Yeah, I'm not done with the weight loss, partly because I like more sweets and sweetbreads than he does. So it's, it's going to take me a little bit more effort to get where I want, and a little bit more self-control to get where I want to go. So I'm hitting the elliptical again when I go, which will be when I'm better again, when my lungs will let me again.
So that's all, Johnny.
Johnny.